All right, Chevra. Today we have a short class. I told Rabbi Goldberg, heads up. So we're going to learn. This is a letter. It could be it's been studied. Hello. No, if they're not the English, I don't need to hold on to the English. So this is a letter that was penned by the Rebbe, and it's published in the first book of Torah's Menachem in the year 19 Tafshin Yud, which is 1950. The Torah's Menachem is what's considered mostly the unedited talks and memorim of the Rebbe. We know it's called the Likutei Sichos, which that is the edited editions of the Rebbe's talks that were worked over. We have, I think, 39 volumes, and over the years they did from Aleph till 30 Lametes. Some of them came out after the Gimel Tammuz of the Rebbe's passing, and the Torah's Menachem are a group it's a work still in progress, where they've taken notes, audio, video, all kind of resources to put together the Rebbe's talks over the years, and they're pretty much closing the gap. So I think in the published, we're missing maybe a decade of published work, maybe a decade, maybe a little less. I mean, they were struggling to do over the 80s, the MEMS again, because it was done at the time. So this is from the first edition of the first volume of the Torah's Menachem of the year Tafshin Yud. Traditionally, they don't really include letters in the Torah's Menachem. Only sometimes, maybe general letters, but they do have the talks. But every once in a while, they do put in a letter if they think it's important. And this is a letter where, as we're going to see, the date is significant. Okay, so the Rebbe writes a letter. This is within 6 months of this is about 6 months of the passing of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Rebbe has officially not yet accepted the leadership, as he did on the 10th of Shvat, 1951. Okay. This also, the first few years of the talks, they also published it in English. It could be you guys have learned this before in the class. I'm not familiar. But either way, it's something that one learns before Gimel Tammuz on a yearly basis. So the Rebbe starts the letter, Baruch Hashem, like this, right away to the point. Rabbim HaMechapsim, there are many who are, for the word Mechapis, that are seeking. Umevarim, or try to explain. Milas, Gdulas, Nasi, Chabad, Bechlal. What is the uniqueness and the greatness, probably not doing the literal translation that you have there, of the Nasiim, the leaders, the Rebbes of Chabad in general? Means, what does it mean? How do we define a Rebbe? The Nasi Dereinu, and the leader of our generation, which is my father-in-law, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. So there are those who are trying to understand what is so unique about a Lubavitcher Rebbe, right? We know that we have the Alter Rebbe, the Mittel Rebbe, Tzemach Tzedek, Rebbe Marash, Rebbe Rechavia, and then the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, who the Rebbe is writing about, and of course his son-in-law, and also the grandson of the Tzemach Tzedek, which is our Rebbe, which we're remembering and celebrating the unique day of Gimel Tammuz coming up after Shabbos. So the Rebbe says like that. Befrat binyanim shoinim. There's those who try to describe the Rebbe because the Rebbe had so many unique qualities about him, so many things different of his parts of his personality and of his work. Isha Mesiras Nefesh, a person of self-sacrifice. We all know the life of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, and especially coming up now. Gimel Tammuz is also part of, we're in the days now actually, but from the 15th of Tammuz until the 3rd of Tammuz is also part of the imprisonment of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1927. And then that went on until a final redemption that we all celebrate on the 12th and 13th of Tammuz, known as Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz. So he was imprisoned by the communists at the time. Of course, it was then just right after the revolution for his continuing spreading of Yiddishkeit, and special for Jewish education. So he was a Baal Mesiras Nefesh, Ish Mesiras Nefesh, a person of self-sacrifice. Goin is a description of a person who's tremendously knowledgeable and in the depth of Torah. Baal Midos, a person with great compassion, great attributes about him on all levels, in Yiras Hashem, and fearing God, loving Hashem, loving others, connecting to others. Tzaddik, a righteous person. Baal Ruach HaKodesh, a person who's blessed with the divine spirit. which is connected to the ideas of prophecy. So these are all descriptions that people like to give. The Rebbe says to my father-in-law, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. They continue, Malumid Benisim, a person who it's common for miracles to happen around him. Malumid Benisim means a person just from the word limud. It's a common study about the person that his life is around with miracles. V'oid, and etc., other different descriptions that are others, that are people are trying to define what does it mean to be a Rebbe, a Chabad Rebbe, and what is the description specifically about the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The God and all these different descriptions that we said, which is what? A person of self-sacrifice, a tremendous study of Torah, a person with great attributes, a righteous person, a person with divine presence, the divine spirit, a person with miracles that happen around him, and he's a part of stories of miracles. Nevertheless, the Rebbe says, when we understand the unique qualities that we just mentioned, al pi hagdoros b'teres Chassidus, as Chassidus explains them. Mahu Mesiras Nefesh. What is Mesiras Nefesh? What's self-sacrifice? Self-sacrifice, we know Chassidus explains, is not only to be able to die for God, but is a person who's ready to live for God. I mean, to go out there and make your whole life about Hashem. Not only when you get chosen, you get put on the spot. When you have to make the choice between being a Jew and not being a Jew, chas v'shalom, but even on a day-to-day life, that's what it means, Mesiras Nefesh. Ma'u Goin, what is a person of great understanding of Torah? Hello?
Oh, hi there.
Okay, so we're reading a letter that was published in 1950 by the Rebbe about the passing of his father-in-law, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Rebbe says that everything that we described until now about the greatness of the Frierdiker Rebbe, person of self-sacrifice, study of Torah, midos, tzaddik, miracle person. The Rebbe said like this: nevertheless, everything mentioned, we're missing the main point. All these are descriptions of a person, things that he's doing, but it's not defining what does it mean to be a Rebbe. The Rebbe says, the main point is missing here. It's not just that the main point is missing, it's an essential point. It means when you look at someone, every single description that we gave so far is in things that he's done. He lived a life of Mesiras Nefesh. He was a righteous person. He was a goy, he knew how to learn. He performed miracles, right? But you're missing an essential point. Chashavu b'yichud, and the Rebbe says that what's the most important about the fact that this point is missing, is also the most important point. I mean, sometimes you have a point that's essential, but it's private. But if we're trying to describe what does it mean to be a Rebbe, this is the most important point. And specifically in regards to our relationship to the Rebbe, which means the Rebbe says, Kahal Chasidav, the congregation of his Chasidim Umukusharav, and those who are connected to him. V'zehu, and the Rebbe says, what is this description that people are missing out on? The Rebbe says, Shuhu Anasi, that he's the prince, he's the leader. The point of a Rebbe is not about what he does for you. What is Moshe Rabbeinu, right? What are we dealing with now in Bamidbar? Every day, every Shabbos, Parsha, another story. What has Moshe Rabbeinu done for you lately, right? Has he brought the meat? Has he brought the slav? Has he brought the birds? Has he taken us into Eretz Yisrael? Did he send spies? Didn't he send spies? Korach wants to be in charge, right? We keep on learning about things that Moshe Rabbeinu. You're missing the point. The point is that he's a Nasi. He's the leader. Nasi, the literal idea of a Nasi is the prince. It was a title given to the title Nasi. We find the first time is in the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't known as a Nasi. Moshe Rabbeinu was known as the leader, Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher. But every tribe had a Nasi, a few Nasim, princes. But the title became really a title of leadership towards the end of the Second Temple, right? So towards the time of the Second Temple, when we had around the time of the kings of the Chashmonaim, like Yanei HaMelech, which weren't necessarily leading a life of religious Torah, they weren't part of the Prussian. They didn't believe in the oral law. They only believed in the written law. Eventually, not the first generation, but by already the second, third generation of the Chashmonaim, the ones who fought the battle of Hanukkah. Now, so then it started off, we find in Pirkei Avos, right? In Pirkei Avos, we go through a list in the first chapter. Moshe received the Torah, he gave it to the elders, he gave it to the prophets, he gave it to Joshua, the elders, till he gave it to the members of the Great Assembly, and then we start naming names. Antignos Sofo, and these are already, that's when it started the office of the Nasi. The main family, the Nasi, eventually went, of course, to the house of Hillel. The house of Hillel had the title of Nasi, of leadership of the Jewish people, from when Hillel took it, which was about 120 years prior to the destruction of the Second Temple, all the way till when we already pretty much established the calendar, which was about close to 400 years. The family of Hillel, son after son, was the leadership of the Jewish people. So the Rebbe is describing this idea of Nasi, and specifically Nasi Chabad. Ki Nasi B'chlal, what does it mean to be a Nasi? Now the Rebbe explains, what is the job of a Nasi? The job of a Nasi, Nikra, it's made up of the idea of Rosh Alfi Yisrael, the heads of the Jewish people. Hu B'chinas, what does it mean to be a Rosh, to be a head? Hu B'chinas Rosh U'moich L'gabeim, just like we have the brain of a person, right? So what stops a person from hurting themselves, or stumbling, or watching where they're going, or making decisions of how they should live their life, right? Is the brain. Right? If we listen to the heart, it's not always the best idea. If we listen to, of course, we listen to other parts of the body, right? If you listen to your hands and your feet, where your feet are taking your hands, right? It wouldn't always work out. So the brain is the part that leads the body. It's not just that it leads as a person who gives as a part of the body that gives a suggestion, but also everyone siphons life off. The neshama, we know, Chassidus explains that the nefesh elikis, the godly soul, primarily is in the brain, in the moach, and from there it goes into the rest of the body. So you siphon off energy from the brain. When a person is connected to the rosh, to the head, the Rebbe is using very strong terms. You are connected to your root on a very high, elevated level. Now, so the idea of the Nasi, is the Rebbe says, is the Rosh, is the head. Like the brain decides how the body should run, so too the Nasi of every generation. The Rebbe talks about, Alter Rebbe talks about this at length in chapter 2 and other places of Tanya. Now the Rebbe says there's different parts of leadership of the head, the Rebbe says. In Ikamis Sugim B'Nesim, there's different types. Elu, those who give energy, Asher Ashpa'asim, the flow that they give, is Bechinas Pnimius. They affect their congregation, meaning the Jewish people, in an internal way. Pnimius means internally. Means we'll discuss in a second the difference between a pnimi and a makif. So the Rebbe says there are some Nesiim, leaders, who affect people internally. The Elu are those, Asher Shpa'asim, that their flow is v'chinas makif, more than encompassing. So the difference between an encompassing effect and an internal effect is their environment. For instance, if you go to a very lively farbrengen and everything is just exciting and we're singing and that's more of a makif. You're in a setting where the setting itself is very uplifting, which could take a person to heights that only a farbrengen or only an external experience could take a person. However, it's not solid, right? As soon as you pull yourself out of that environment, you no longer protect. Like we have the sukkah, right? The sukkah. You go into the sukkah or talis, these are all makif, these are all encompassing energies. So when you're in the sukkah, you feel, wow, I'm in the sukkah, so much holiness. When as soon as you walk out of the sukkah, you're no longer in the sukkah. You have to be in the sukkah to have the effect of the sukkah. You have to be in the environment to be affected by the environment. And it's very powerful, but it doesn't change you. It doesn't fundamentally change you. Pnimi is a person who's from within. In general, Chassidus explains that's the difference between commandments, the mitzvahs, and Torah. Torah is considered like bread, which is food, which is a substance that goes into you. That's a pnimi. You grow, you live on it. Mitzvahs are compared to garments, clothing, also an encompassing idea. Okay. So there are those Nisim who affect people in an encompassing energy, that the people get uplifted, more connected to Hashem because of his creating an encompassing energy, or bepnimius, an internal one. And it's not always the depending is what is the subject at hand, where the Nasi is either changing a person internally or an external connection. Is it in the written Torah, I mean the revealed Torah, like the Talmud, the Halacha? Or Nister, is it in Kabbalistic, Hasidic teachings, or B'Shnei Yachor, or both? Limdoi Darke Avoida V'Chassidus, the teaching of the ways of service of Hashem and Chassidus. There's also idea of leadership that give blessings to people for parnasa, for livelihood, for gesund, for health, and for health, right? For other questions, right? How many stories do we have in the Baal Shem Tov? That the Baal Shem Tov people came, men, women, and children came to the Baal Shem Tov for blessings of things that they needed on a material level. They say that the Alter Rebbe was not happy. There's a letter he penned that the Alter Rebbe was not happy that people were coming to him asking him for blessings for livelihood, for parnasa. He expected that they should come, the Chassidim should come to him for brachas and how they should understand Torah better and how they should daven better, how they should do mitzvahs better. But the Rebbe says later in the early talks, the Rebbe says the Chassidim didn't care. The Alter Rebbe, they still went back to the Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe and demanded that he give them blessings for parnasa. There's a story told very much connected to this week's parsha. And when it talks about we're going to learn in the Chumash this week, tomorrow I think, where we learn about the staff of Aaron, that to show that that Aaron was the chosen one to be the high priest. So God said everyone should put a staff into overnight, and whichever staff shows a sign that God chose them, that will be the one the sign. So obviously, of course, Aaron's staff grew almonds. So the question is, why almonds? I mean, why did God choose an almond as a sign of the kahuna, of the priesthood? And the reason is because the power of a kohen is so powerful that the power of a kohen is like almonds that come down fast and powerful, and they could just change everything. People, I don't know if everyone appreciates what it means to get a bracha from a kohen. Every day, in Eretz Yisrael, you get an opportunity to get a bracha from a kohen, sometimes twice a day, on Shabbos or Yom Tov. So in this week's parsha, in the talks of Chassidus of this week, it says, but what about it? What does it mean to get a bracha from a tzaddik? Right? We find the story, the Baal Shem Tov. There's a famous story told that Baal Shem Tov, a couple, one of the many couples that came to Baal Shem Tov to ask a bracha for children, were a wealthy family who had no children, and he went to the Baal Shem Tov, the holy Baal Shem Tov, and he said, bless us with children. So he said, are you ready to lose your wealth to become parents? And they said, yes, of course, we're ready to lose everything just to be parents. And that's what happened. They lost everything financially, and they became parents. So the Rebbe asks in the Mimer, why did he have to make such a condition? Why would he have to condition their livelihood on them? I mean, if you could bless them with children, bless them with children. Why would they have to lose their parnasa, their livelihood, to have to be parents? And the answer given is because bracha, a person's allocated certain blessings. Sometimes you're not given enough. So all the blessings goes in the direction of your finances or something else. So what the Baal Shem Tov did was he moved it. All they had was a certain amount of blessing. There wasn't enough for them to have money and children. So he gave them the choice. If you like, I'll move it. I'll move what God gave you as a blessing for money, and we'll move it to children. So therefore, when it's moved, obviously, it's no longer a blessing for parnasa. So they lost their livelihood, but they were able to be parents. But a kohen has the power to break through all the boundaries. But here the Rebbe says again, people come to the nasi for bracha b'gashmias, for flow of material things. V'yeshem ke'ela, the Rebbe continues, some of the nasiim, some of the leaderships, the nasiim of Chabad or in the world, is that they give a flow externally, internally, in Torah, in Nigla, in Chassidus, in Parnasa, in how to serve Hashem and how to learn Chassidus. Some leaders had some of the qualities of leadership. They were very good. They maybe didn't teach the Chassidus or the Kabbalistic teachings, but they taught halacha. Right? There's many personalities of leadership over our generations that were great teachers of the revealed Torah. And so some of them had all the qualities. Now the Rebbe says, this is what it was to be a leader of the Chabad community. Min Kvoy Kedushas Admir Azokin from the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, V'ad Kvoy Kedushas Rechavia Admir Akam, V'ad Bechlal, including my father-in-law, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Asher Kolalu Kol Hasugim V'Chilukim. Their leadership included everything. Heshpiyu B'Pnimis Makav. They affected their Chassidim both internally and externally, in an encompassing energy. In study of Torah and service and being kind and having kind midos. Beruchnis, in spiritual growth. Begashmis, those who needed physical, material blessings. Uvimela, therefore, because everything the Rebbe is getting at a point here. I'm going to describe what the Rebbe is trying to tell us in this letter, which is very important coming up to Gimel Tammuz, to understand what does it mean to be a chassid and what does it mean to be a Rebbe. So the Rebbe says, "Uvemeila hoisis kashrusam imashaychim aleim v'chol tayar gavari nefesh v'gufam kusharim." Therefore, their connection to those who cling and become a makusher, someone who's tied to them, to the Rebbe, was in every part of their being. It wasn't that they went to connect to the Rebbe because the Rebbe is going to teach them a piece of Talmud, or the Rebbe is going to teach them an insight of Chassidus, or the Rebbe is going to give them a nice Farbrengen experience. Everything that your person needs and all their 613 components of their body and soul were connected to and getting flow through the Rebbe. And therefore the Rebbe, we turn the page, those have in Hebrew, therefore the Rebbe's conclusion is, therefore the Rebbe says it's important for every male and female, mitanu, kulanu adas, we all must know. And what does the Rebbe say? What does it mean to know something? Not just to know the words that we're saying. Lahamik daitoi, to get deep into your mind. You must, so to say, wedge it into your thinking process. About he's saying about his father-in-law, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Asher hu anasi varosh. He is the leader and the head. Mimenu, from him, vayode, and by him, him kol hashbois, all the flow a person needs, the gashmius, material things, beruchnis, and spiritual things, come through the Rebbe. When you connect yourself to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says, if you want to know what it means to connect to Rebbe, there's many letters, whether it's doing the Hayros, the Rebbe says, and for us, we have the previous Rebbe said to learn Chitas, Kumashtim Tanya. Our Rebbe taught us, of course, to learn Rambam, to do the Tem Miftzayim, to make obviously Yisrael, like the Rebbe's initial statement in 1951 was, if you want to know what my mission statement is Avos Hashem, Avos Yisrael, and Avos Torah are all one. Loving God, loving another fellow Jew, and loving Torah is all one thing. It's all one love. And that's what he wanted to and gave his Chassidim. So therefore, Kishurim Yuchadim B'Sharish V'Sharish Asharish Ad L'Mayla. If you connect yourself to the Rebbe properly, and you can connect to your own root of your being to the highest level. And this letter signed Menachem Schneerson. And what is so significant? What date did the Rebbe pen this letter? Almost 70 years before he passed away. On the day of his Yortzeit Gimel Tammuz Tavshin in 1950. So the Rebbe ended up passing away 43 years later. The Rebbe passed away, he was Nifter, on Gimel Tammuz Tavshin and Dalit. And 54 years before that, the Rebbe wrote a letter about what does it mean to be a Rebbe, and what does it mean to be a Chassid, and how you're supposed to view your relationship as a Rebbe and a Chassid. So I think the point of this letter is going into Gimel Tammuz is that sometimes, and I was discussing this today, I have an online class in the morning, sometimes people like to hedge their bets. I get a little bit of this over here, I get a little bit of that over there. If I don't get an answer from this person, I get another better answer from that person. If you go up to this place and pray, it's a good segula to get a child. That place to pray is a good place to get wisdom. And this place is to get a shidduch and to get parnasa. Right? It's many addresses that when you have a large address book, you're never sure what address to go to. But it's also, you don't have any addresses. When you have a lot of addresses, you don't have any addresses because everything has to work for you. And if you don't, you're never really committed, right? Because if it doesn't work here, it's okay. Go somewhere else. Maybe let's try someplace else. What the Rebbe wanted to put into this letter is that in life, it's okay, and that's also what it means to be a chassid, is that you have one address. It's not important where that address is, but when you have one address, so then when you have one option, that's the way it has to be around here where your answers are going to be. Because if you have a lot of options, you never have any answers, right? Because you don't know, maybe I just didn't find that right person who's going to say what I want to hear or what I need to hear or what I think I need to hear. But when you know that everything's coming from a single place, so then you know this is the central, and this is where my soul is. And I think life is complex. Life isn't always easy. There's, like the Rabbi Machai says in Shar B'Tochen, in the gates of trust, that a person has to find siba, something that they could relate to. And even in Panas, in a job, And once you know this is what you're supposed to be doing in life, you take it for the good and for the bad. It means this is what you're supposed to be doing. You have to follow. Then you have to make this work. Obviously, we sometimes may have changes in our life, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in jobs. There are times we make changes. But in general, the idea, the mindset is commitment. The mindset is also that there's this, because when you don't have, when you're, this is the thing you're supposed to be doing. You figure out a way to make it. Same thing the same thing applies to the relationship to Rebbe. It's not about a commitment. It's about when you know that if I need a parnasa, that Rebbe knows what I need. Right? There's a famous story Rabbi Deitch once told me. He said of a person that who needed something or the other. I think I'm not sure if it was parnasa, a bracha in parnasa, or a bracha in children, or whatever it was. I forget the details. And he wouldn't give it to him. I think it was parnasa, livelihood. He wouldn't give it to him. So he went to, this was one Rebbe, whoever the person who his Rebbe was, I think a Polish Rebbe, somewhere very high, big tzaddik somewhere. And his Rebbe would not give him the blessing. He went to another Rebbe, and he got the blessing. And not only that, he got the parnasa. So what his Rebbe told him, he says, but you don't understand. This Rebbe doesn't know who you are. You asked him for something, it's like, you have $5, it's $5. I know you through and through. I know your whole make. You didn't need the blessing. That's not what you needed right now. That wasn't what you needed right now. That wasn't. I withheld the blessing for you. It's not that I couldn't give it to you. I withheld the blessing for you because right now this is not what you needed. A Rebbe's relationship is not to give you everything you want. A Rebbe's relationship is to help you in your life, in your mission, in your guide, and to guide you in your purpose in this world. So if you went to another tzaddik who doesn't know what your purpose is and is not connected to you, nefesh b'nefesh, to the essence of your soul, that's what it means to be a chassid and a Rebbe. That he or she is connected.
People make aliyahs.
What?
There are people that help people make aliyah.
Yeah. So to connect the essence of your soul with the essence of the Rebbe's soul, and therefore every part of what you need has to be the Rebbe has to be able to provide you with it. That's a Moshe Rabbeinu. What do we see? What do we learn from the parashas Bamidbar? We could either look at all the negative stories, right? That they wanted this, they wanted that. But one thing we see clearly: no matter what they needed, they went to Moshe Rabbeinu. Every question they had, they went to Moshe Rabbeinu. If they didn't have water, they went to Moshe Rabbeinu. If someone was tired, they went to Moshe Rabbeinu. If they lost their appetite of the man, they went to Moshe Rabbeinu. No matter what, the largest and smallest questions, they went to Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe Rabbeinu provided everything for them. Because that's his job. That's the job of a Rebbe. That's what the Rebbe is saying in this letter. The job of a Rebbe is hu anasi. It's not that he's a holy person. We don't go to a Rebbe because he's a holy person. Chassidim have an expression that the Rebbe doesn't have to have prophecy. Unless he needs it to be a Rebbe. Means that you don't go to a Rebbe because he's a prophet or because if in order for him to do his job, to find your derech in life, to help you become the person you're supposed to be, then prophecy is a tool. It's not a definition. It doesn't define the Rebbe. If he needs it to help you become a better person, then he uses it. But otherwise he doesn't need it. That's not the job of the Rebbe. It's not if the Rebbe is a prophet, it's not if the Rebbe is it's about how the Rebbe is going to make you the best person you could be as a Jew. And the Jew in this world, living with all the complications that we are in this world. So, a few more minutes before we go. It's an important letter. I just want to read a few things about Gimel Tammuz, just 5 minutes extra. It's like this. This is from a talk of the Parsha Korach, Gimel Tammuz, the 3rd of Tammuz, the year 1958. 1958. It's like this. Hold on a second. No, it's like this. Isa b'Seder Olam. Seder Olam is a sefer that talks about different things that happen in different times of history. Seder Olam means things that happen in the world. There in Gimel Tammuz, what is the significance? What was one of the first stories that happened on the 3rd of Tammuz in our history? It says that Mona Yeshua, Reish L'Koivshim, Yeshua, the head of the old conquerors, as Mahalach HaShemesh Ba'omer Shemesh Begiven Dom. The famous thing, Joshua's fighting. He's leading the Jewish people in their battles in conquering Eretz Yisrael, and they needed more sunlight. So Joshua says, Shemesh Begiven Dom. The sun got to stop. It shouldn't set. It has to stay still so the Jewish people can use the sunlight to continue in the battles. We're not sure how long the sun didn't move. Lamed Vav Shais Yom Tamim was 36 hours or a full 24 hours. Everyone agrees that it started on the 3rd of Tammuz. The Rebbe says everything's by divine, and the Rebbe is from bringing in 1958, not obviously by his Yortzeit, because the Rebbe is obviously alive, but the Rebbe is celebrating the day of Geula, of redemption of his father-in-law. The beginning of the previous Rebbe's redemption is on the 3rd of Tammuz. The significance with Gimel Tammuz is, with the Yortzeit of the Rebbe, is that the Gimel Tammuz by the Frierdiker Rebbe, it didn't at the time seem like a holiday, because he was going to be exiled. But that exile left, it only lasted, it was supposed to be 10 years, then 3 years, it ended up being less than 12 days. Less than 10 days. So the Rebbe is like this. So the Rebbe says, because nothing's by chance and everything's by divine, and therefore every year the ideas relive itself when those days come. We have to say that the beginning of the redemption of the previous Rebbe is connected to the idea of the sun not setting. The Rebbe says an idea like this. Means we look at it that the sun stopped. Okay, Joshua stopped the sun, but it's not so simple. You can't just stop the sun. There's a lot of people that depend on the movement of the sun, including the angels. The angels have cycles, they have turns when it's time for them to say Shira. There's different, the cosmos themselves say Shira. The sun says Shira. So you can't just, the sun could say to Joshua in second, I get you need, I have it, I have some place to be. I can't just stop. I have to say Shira. So when he stopped it, but Joshua, how did he have the power to stop the whole Seder Hishlalshas, the whole system of creation? Shira Samalachim, the singing of the angels. Why they should give us miles Shira Sanashamas Hashir Samalach. What Joshua did was, he said, 1 second. As important as you think the praise of the angels is for God, a Jewish person's praise is more. Right? So sometimes in life, the angels could be, right, asking Moshe, why are you taking the Torah? Or the angels are very important and everything's happening. Yaakov is fighting with the angel. He says, I have to go say Shira, I have to go praise God. Right? But at the end of the day, even maybe a small Jewish child saying Modani or saying Baruch Atah Hashem until Sidayim is more important than all the songs and all the holiness that is created by the angels. So the Rebbe says like this. The idea is like this. It's explained in Chassidus that aside for the singing of the Shira, the songs of the angels, is Yesh Gam Shirs and Neshamas. The souls also sing. Shai Neshamas Yesh Lam Aliyas V'Yedur Shekol Ahilach V'Aliyah V'Yedei Shir Dafka. It's a known teaching of the Alter Rebbe. It's a Mishnah that says that on Shabbos animals have to rest. So it says in the Behema, the Gemara says, what about, are they allowed to go out with their leashes on Shabbos? A shear. They're allowed to go with their leashes. So if they wear a leash, like a dog wears a leash, you can go with the leash. But if it's an animal that doesn't usually wear a leash, it shouldn't go out with the leash because then it's carried. So the Mishnah says, Kol Bali Shear is Yoitzim B'Shir V'Nimshachim B'Shir. You can hold them and pull them on there. They can go out with their leash because that's what they wear. It's part of their clothing. And so the Alter Rebbe says that every time you move, the word Shir also means, of course, a music, song. How do we have movement in life? It's through song. You have to be, everyone has to be able to sing a song at some point in their life. Because if you want to move, you can have all the Torah starting and all the inspiration and all everything. If you can't put some music to it, the Alter Rebbe says you're not going to move. All movement comes through song. So we have the angels that want to sing, and it's their time to start singing, the sun has to move. We have the souls that want to sing. What's the difference? We know the angels have bodies, but their bodies are made up of only two elements, which is the wind and fire. However, so therefore, what is the idea of singing? The idea of singing, the Rebbe says, is that when the angels sing, they nullify themselves. They kind of get rid of their body, the limitations of their body. Just like we have limitations of our body, angels also have the limitations of their body. So when they sing, they're able to get rid of the limitations of their body. And that music is what we have sometimes the prophets describe, right? We have Isaiah talks about Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. Yecheskel talks about the images of the angels, right? So what are they hearing? They're hearing that the angels are losing their form to get holier. The song of the reason why we never hear the prophet describing the music of the souls, not the souls of the body, the souls, is because they have no body. So their music doesn't make any noise. So the Rebbe says like this. I just want to finish off with one last thing. The clause in Shirs and Neshamas Shilaman Mishir Samlachim. What's the idea that the singing of the souls is higher than the angels? Is in their elevation with love and fear of Hashem. How does the soul of a person sing? Is when you learn Chassidus. When you learn Chassidus, you learn Tanya, you learn the Mimer, so your soul is singing. Because singing is movement, and the inspiration and the feelings you have of love and fear, when you start learning a Mimer and you start connecting to the ideas, you may not hear it, but your soul is singing. And the movement of your soul singing is very important. And when it says that when Joshua revealed how important it is for the soul to sing, so then all other creations said, if that's the case, the sun is not going to move. Because right now, the souls have to sing. The Rebbe said like this. This is a lesson. I just want to finish off with the lesson. This is a lesson teaching one of us in every generation, like everything in Torah, that when you reveal the essence of your soul, when you learn Chassidus, so then the sun is standing still. Because for your soul, that all the flow that comes from the sun and the moon into this world, that says, I got to keep on moving. The sun says it has to keep on moving. But what happens if I need more sunlight to get what I need done? So the sun totally nullifies itself to the need of a Jewish soul. If the Jewish soul needs to sing and it needs a little more sun, the sun stands still. So a person has to know that in our life, and that's what Gimel Tammuz really is the sun didn't set. The Rebbe is with us. The music goes on. We're learning Chassidus. We have to continue to learn Chassidus. We have to continue to connect. We have to continue to do the Rebbe's instructions that he instructed us, whether it's loving another Jew, going put him on tefillin and Shabbos candles, being kind to someone, having family purity, and having a house full of Sfarim. All the 10 Mitzvahim, learning Rambam every day, learning Chassidus, davening the way we should try to daven a little better. That's all our soul is singing. That's all the sun is stopping and waiting for us. Sometimes we feel like we're in a rush. There's no rush. The sun will wait. The flow will wait. If you need to sing a little longer, you need a little more time in shul, stay in shul a few more minutes. All right, everyone, Laila Tov and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.